podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Paddock and The Pavilion with me, Stephen Wallace. You are in for a treat today. At the end of September, I caught up with Jenny Thompson of her World Cricket Tour before she embarked on her then next cricketing trip to Mexico. Jenny was previously on the podcast in April when she joined us to talk about what it was like to play against a World 11 at Fairbreak in Hong Kong. In this podcast, split into two parts, the former Cheshire county player who represented England at under-17 level answers 10 for Jen about her tour, as well as chatting about some of the incredible stories she has experienced during her tour, which is still going. Jenny is currently in South America, where she will soon be meeting up with one of our regular guests, Roberta Moretti Avery, in Brazil. Find out the hottest place she has played, her funniest moment, and the European country where you need to go to fix your fast bowling. Enjoy almost 50 minutes with Jenny and feel part of her quest to discover where women's cricket is played across the globe. Capture the passion for cricket with Jenny. There really is no one more enthusiastic about the game than her. Part 2 coming soon, and at the weekend you will hear Frankie's Farewell, a podcast to celebrate Frankie Dettori's British farewell at Ascot on Champions Day. Hello Jenny, welcome back to the Paddock and the Pavilion.
Hi Stephen, thanks for having me again.
It seems a while since we spoke back in April. A lot has happened since on your Her World Cricket Tour. Can you believe it's nearly October?
No, I don't know what year it is.
I bet you can't with all the countries you've been to. On this podcast, I'm going to ask you some questions. There's going to be a series called 10 for Jen. And I'm also going to have some stories where you're going to pick a number. And we're also going to talk about women's cricket, how the tour has been for you, and the future. But to start with, let's go with this 10 for Jen. On what date did you begin Her World Cricket Tour?
1st of April this year.
Well, that's a good day to start because that's my birthday as well.
Happy birthday.
That's the first one. Anyway, second question. What's your best score with the bat on the tour?
On the tour, I've had a few 49 not out, can you believe?
But no 50s?
Not yet. I think I must just be too slow because I've been opening the batting in 2020. So, that's on me.
Your best bowling analysis?
Oh, goodness. I can't really think, but I think maybe at one point I may have taken 2 wickets in one match, which is pretty rare these days. So that's about it.
But you've got over your bowling problems now. Your run-up's all smooth and everything.
Yes. My bowling problem was actually the yips, which I've had for the last 2 seasons since I came back playing. And then a long-term problem I've had has been my follow-through or lack of, which is kind of annoying because if you break it down in the coaching perspective of having 5 parts to your bowling action, I would say my first 4 are very technically sound, and then the follow-through is just completely absent. So it's a little bit of a dichotomy, but of all places, I got it fixed in Norway. There was a clinic on fast bowling when I was there for girls and women, and it was delivered by the opening bowler for Norway men, Vinay, and he just told me what I was doing wrong, which was not collapsing my front shoulder and allowing the momentum to run through. I was just sort of staying upright and stopping, it's not technically good, and it's probably physically dangerous as well.
So Norway's the place to fix your bowling then?
Norway's the place to fix your bowling, and also the time and the place to try something entirely new. I played a tournament there and we were short a wicket keeper. I've never kept in my entire life, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I was joint wicketkeeper of the tournament. I did runner, I did catch, and it was so fun just being involved every single ball. And I thought, oh, if you could wind back the clock, maybe I would get into that. I don't know because then I love bowling as well. So, but it was really, really good. And I always think, I don't know how I've like not done that in my whole time, but now I have, and it just reminded me how good it is to try different things and try as many things because maybe I'll never keep again, but now I have that perspective and empathy for the keeper, which is always good to see things from different points of view.
A good lesson for any young cricketer just starting, though. Try everything.
For any young cricketer starting and any old cricketer like me carrying on, just keep going. Try everything.
Right. Talking about keep going, what's the hottest place you've played on your tour?
Well, the most humid place was Singapore, which was 96 degrees humidity. The hottest felt like the Philippines. That was super hot. And actually, while I was over in Norway again, they'd been having such a hot spell. There was a hosepipe ban, and all the ground was really scorched, and it was pretty hot. We had to, keep our fluids up that day. And again, wasn't expecting that one in Norway. And I think sometimes they're almost harder to adapt because mentally you're not as prepared. I mean, at this point in the tour, I should just be prepared for anything, and in some ways I am. But that was pretty hot. But to be honest, I've been quite lucky with everything in terms of I've not lost an over to rain yet, which is extraordinary. Just dodging the showers before or after a match or the day before, the day after. And to the point where I've just given up looking at weather forecasts because I'm like, no, it's fine. I'm playing. So somehow we'll get a match.
And this is someone who comes from near Manchester.
Exactly. I've played 3 matches in the northwest of England. And I will say one match for the MCC was completely washed out. That was on a Thursday. We were supposed to play up in Lancashire. However, I managed to play in the Friday match, which was against my native county, Cheshire, because I used to play for both Lancashire and Cheshire. But Cheshire's my heart, and I played against my old team, and it was far much. I don't know. I just much preferred it. So then, even though that whole day was washed out, it worked out better. So I'm claiming that as, still favourable weather conditions.
Right. Next question. We're off the subject of temperature here. Who is the youngest player you've played against?
Well, I didn't play against her, but I want to tell you about this 11-year-old
from Belgium. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
You know her already.
Yeah, I thought you might say that. I'm all keyed up for it.
Robin Ryder. She's just this brilliant. She's a brilliant talent. She's an opening bowler. She's got a very, very lovely fluid action. And in her first match against Luxembourg, she got a hat trick. And I went to meet her and the rest of the Belgian women. And I said to everyone here, who's got a hat trick ever? Nobody had. She's already done it. She's 11 years old. Maybe she'll never do it again, but it doesn't matter because it was just a great story. And in fact, it was one of the Luxembourg parents, Adrian, the parent of Liddy Wicks Templeman, who plays for Luxembourg and France, who messaged me to tell me his excitement. He said, oh, this girl here, she's only 11. She's got a hat trick. I said, I'm coming to Belgium next week, so hopefully I'll get to meet her. And she was a great story. But to be honest, everybody looks young who I'm playing against these days.
What about who's the oldest person you played against?
Oh, well, I didn't play against her, but I understand there's a 68-year-old still playing regularly in Kampong Cricket Club in the Netherlands. I think she's She's a wicket keeper. There's lots of wicket keepers who are still doing their squats into their 60s and 70s, which is probably why they're, still athletic and still doing well, because they're still using it. So, that is one thing that I constantly get reminded about in cricket going around, is that cricket's for everyone, all ages, all body shapes, all personalities. There's something for everybody in cricket. You always have a laugh as well. That's the main thing.
I can see you as a wicket keeper. You also mentioned on your Instagram and Facebook playing with your Nana, who's 94.
Nana, I know. Now she was more of a rounders person at school and netball, but the thing with my Nana is she's just got more drive than anybody.
I wonder where you get it from.
Me,
then, yeah. Is that where you get it from?
Well, I was going to say, imagine me to the power of 10, and that's my mum, and then my mum to the power of 10, and that's my Nana. So I went to visit her, and I said, "Come on, Nana, we'll just play some cricket," because the other year we had my niece and nephew and myself and my brother and my dad and my mum and my Nana all playing cricket in the park. So we had 4 generations. It was really lovely. And I was like, "Come on, Nana, I want to see your shots." And I've got quite a heavy bat as it is. And she could barely lift it really, but she didn't let it stop her. And she was, playing some lovely drives. And of course, I had a few friends pitching in underneath going, "Yeah, Nana's better than you." And well, she is. I can't disagree. So the thing with Nana is she says you just have to have fun every day and keep going. You have to laugh. That's her thing. And, an attitude like that just gets you through life. And, it's a shame really that she never got the opportunity to play cricket, because she's got the perfect personality for it.
And she's 94.
Well, she's 95 now. Yeah, she turned 95 a week or so later. So, yeah, she's a force. She's so good. She still lives independently as well.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Number seven, the most inspiring player you have come across. And there must be so many.
On the tour or ever?
On the tour, yeah.
Okay. Well, actually, I can say I played with her on the tour, and I know her from old times. So Claire Taylor, batting Claire Taylor with an I, not Romper. Although I did see Romper in Ireland. She was working for the ICC at Ireland, Australia women. But no, Claire Taylor, I mean, I was playing for the MCC. This was the match in Cheshire at Chesterborton Hall, and it was the club's 150th anniversary. So they had both the women and the men. And I have to mention this, that the women were put on the top pitch, and it proved a great, and there was no fanfare made about it either, which I enjoyed, but it's interesting to talk about because, there's no way this would have happened 10, 20 years ago. Women were on the top pitch, and it proved a brilliant decision. The men's match was quite one-sided, whereas we had, ours went to the last over. We had Claire Taylor, we had Laura McLeod, we had Tina Goff, some other really good players, and me. And I got to bat with Claire Taylor. And to me, it was like my own mini World Cup, because I was at very close quarters witnessing in a way, but also being part of her masterminding this chase. And she's so impressive. And then by the end of the match, I was out, but by the end of the match, it was lovely to be surrounded by all these other people, all the men who'd finished their match, just watching this out and out class of Claire Taylor. She has not lost her class. She doesn't play a heap now, but some of her shots were just sublime. And, it was a real was a real honor to play with her. I think I played against her, maybe with her in a match way, way back. But she's not just inspirational on the pitch; she's so inspirational off the pitch. Just her personality, I just love how she's just she's very calm and just naturally inspirational. You just want to hang around her and absorb anything that she's got to say. But what I particularly love about Claire Taylor, for me, my own personal story, is in 2009 at the T20 World Cup at the Oval, the semi-final. I know everybody talks about her one-day innings at Lord's, but for me, what happened was I'd been down in Taunton for the group stage, and it was pretty much myself and Ali Mitchell. Then the tournament moved to the Oval for the semi-final, and it being England and Australia and being ahead of the men's match, all the papers decided to send all of the journalists. May as well cover the women at this point. So they'd not seen women's cricket, and many of them wouldn't have seen women's cricket live since the 93 World Cup final, when that was under the auspices of the WCA. It was in skirts. There was no professionalism, which is not to say there weren't skills, because of course they were. But, if you think about it, Joe Chamberlain at the time was a truck driver. So, naturally the players didn't have as much skills, I guess, in the game as they had now. So you can imagine these journalists have come along with this preconception, which is fair. Like you can only go on your knowledge. So I sat down and, being very easy to wind up, they all just turned to me just to wind me up. And they said, "Tomo, can the girls hit it off the square?" So at this point, I saw Karen Rolton coming into bat. Now, at that point, Karen was my club captain, while she was also captain of Australia. She was captain at Port Adelaide, and I'd been at the other end a few times, and I've never heard a ball rotate so fast as it's gone past my ear. Like, it's fizzed. So I turned to the guys and I said, "I don't know, shall we see?" And Karen just smoked this flat six through square leg, which just rocketed into the crowd, and all the press, oh, okay. Now that was pleasing in itself. And then Claire came in and masterminded that run chase to the point where Andrew Miller, who was my colleague at Cricinfo, he said to me, "Jen, that was the best innings of the whole tournament, men or women." And I said, "I know." And it was that day that shifted everything. It was the beginning of the shift for respect for women's cricket. And it was Claire Taylor who was the star of that day. And I'm getting goosebumps just now, just talking about it and remembering it, because
and you were batting with her.
She's so inspirational. Sorry?
And you were batting with her then?
Well, I was the other day.
Yeah.
But the day when she changed everything for the media's perception of women's cricket, it was not exactly single-handedly her, but it was her feats that day that really stuck in the mind, because Jared Kimber, who's now obviously, a famous journalist, he said he was in the crowd that day, and it was that day that inspired him to cover women's cricket to the depth that he now does, So to then play with her on tour this year, it was lovely linkage to the past, if you will, but just in and of itself, she's very inspirational. But again, it's always interesting to me that era of players, they're not very well known. The tour manager in the MCC, who I saw out when I went, they were playing against Austria and Germany in Dresden. Sinead, she said to me, some of the girls in the NCC team don't know that Laura and Claire played for England. I made them Google her, both of them, and I made them go and watch YouTubes of them so they know. They just know them as Laura and Claire.
That's the longest short answer I've ever had for a short fire quiz. No, but it was. I can tell how much you enjoyed playing with Claire and batting with Claire.
Yes, I did.
So we move on to question number 8. We'll have to keep it a little bit shorter because we've got all your stories to come yet. Although I think some of the stories that I was going to bring up now are no longer stories because we've heard them. Number 8, your funniest moment on the tour.
Oh, Stephen, you can't do that. There's just so many.
We'll do a short, good one then of all those funny moments.
Falling flat on my face when I went to bowl in the nets against France the other day.
At the ICC World Cup. We're going to come on. We're going to come on to France, so we can leave it at that for the moment. The next 2 questions are very brief. How many countries have you visited so far? When I spoke to you before, you'd been to Hong Kong, which is where you started, Cambodia, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. So how many countries have you been to? You must know.
39.
And when will her World Cricket Tour end?
It'll end next August, and I've got an exciting finale already planned. And Vanessa and Andy from the Barmy Army are going to help me as well.
So it's going to be like an 18-month tour then in the end, or close to that.
It will be. I'm going back to Australia to play as much of the season there as possible and write up the first half of the book. And then it kicks off again frenetically from about April to August. And then we're done. 80 countries, done and dusted. 80
countries. Wow. Anyway, we're going to get on to your stories now. I've got 8 numbers. You're going to pick a number. But before we do that, I just wanted to ask you, we've mentioned about your bowling, but how have you managed to keep fit? You've mentioned ice baths on the Instagram, I think. What's it like being in an ice bath? Or had you been in one before?
No, I haven't been in one yet. Roberta in Brazil, who I'm going to see soon, has threatened me with one. So I'm off. I've only witnessed other people and they just look cold. Obviously, what else do you expect? But Poppy in France told me they're really good. And I said, why? She said, because it's like they're burning you. And I'm like, I don't understand how that's good, but okay.
But have you been on the physio's table very much? Or?
Not yet. I don't think I work hard enough for that.
Well, let's get on to these stories. And you just got to pick a number now. There's 1 to 8.
Okay. Well, my cricket number has been 6. So let's start with 6.
Oh, number 6. I've got to sort my cards out here. This is one we actually spoke to about off air. This is the Romanian captain, Rebecca Blake, who's got quite a remarkable story because she also played for another country.
Yes, she did. Rebecca is brilliant. She currently lives in England and her mum is from Romania. Rebecca was born in Bucharest and was there till I think she was about 9. And then the family moved to France. She played for France from an early age, but then they moved to England. She moved for her studies, and that rendered her ineligible to play for France anymore, as she'd been playing on a residency basis. And then recently, Romania set up a women's team, which was really interesting. And I went over there and had a look at everything that they're doing. It's absolutely fascinating. They've got girls in the next door village to the international ground who play for the team. And I just saw one of them cycling home after the match with her kit bag. And I thought, when you've just won an international match for your country and you're just cycling home. So Romania had heard about Rebecca having a Romanian parent, and they contacted her. And she thought the idea of Romania women playing cricket was so far-fetched. She was worried it was a scam to begin with until it proved legitimate. They had a FaceTime with a few other potential players and some of the board. And now she's ended up playing for Romania, and I got to watch her bat, and she just smashes her. It was really, really good. So yeah, she's great. She works in sport in England now for Solent University, where she attended, but she's also really, really involved in Speedway of all things. And she was been out in Poland, who appear to be the best at Speedway in the world. She said it over in Poland, you know, like our sports stars, you might see cricketers or, you know, footballers on the buses. She said over there, it's all Speedway. Everyone's got their favorite Speedway player. I don't know. I don't even know the term rider, but
Rider, I think,
yeah. So she's got a busy and interesting life. She loves her cricket as well in Romania. Brilliant, love it.
Right, that's Romania. What about the next number then?
7.
That's Len Goodman there. Now we're into Japan now, and
Yeah.
you came across a guest that's been on my podcast in Shizuka Miyagi.
Yes.
And you were also on the Japanese podcast as well.
Yes, with Alan, my old friend from cricket back in the day.
So did you play, you were photoed, because you sent me a photo with Shizuka. Did you play with Shizuka? And you did some groundwork there as well.
Yes, I had a lovely week in Japan. I'd met Sue in Hong Kong at Fair Break, and I saw her around the international ground that I spent a few days at during the week, which is in the middle of the sticks. And she was scoring one of the under 22 men's events, and I met her dog, and I met her husband, who is the CEO of Japan Cricket, Alex. So we were more hanging out in a social capacity, and I played with Erika Oda from Japan in Kawasaki, so I had to leave that centre to go down on a Saturday night and play a night cricket match, which I'd never done before, under lights, obviously, otherwise that would be a challenge, in on a football pitch. So it was very, very different conditions out in Japan. And wherever I go, I also like to do some groundskeeping to get a real flavour of, the difficulties and the insights of ground curation itself, but the peculiarities of particular places, be it, molehill management or, scaring away birds or whatever. But I've just been in Spain in Desert Springs, and at the beginning of the day I went to speak with Alan, the new curator there, who used to do the grounds at Cambridge University when I used to play the county champs there. So I didn't know that. I thanked him for all his hard work there, because they were all his stunning pictures at Cambridge, and he's done them really well again in Spain in the desert. And he's got this cactus on a spike that he was standing next to, and me with my groundskeeper head on, I was like, "Oh, what's this for? Is it some kind of aeration device?" Da, 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 da. And he said, "It's literally a decoration. It's a logo." I said, "No, I've got a lot to learn."
This was a question about Japan as well.
Yeah, you get everything.
Yeah, you do. Shizuka, of course, played in Fair Break.
She did, yes. Yeah, she did. And she just, what an experience to have all of that time and observation and playing alongside those just top class players. There's no way you can come away from anything like that without so much more knowledge of your own cricket, never mind meeting all these people from around the world, all the different cultures. It's just so unreal. It's just so fabulous. Absolutely love it for, all of the players. It's just a brilliant experience.
Right, that's 6 and 7 done. You've got another 6 to go.
Okay, 1.
Oh, number 1. Well, number 1, we'll have to just pick out a little bit of number 1, because number 1 was all about you playing for the MCC.
Yeah.
in Chester, and you came across a regular guest of this podcast, Tina Goff, who's often on the show because we talk about the women's Ashes, the women's cricket, the 100 and things like that. So what was it like playing with Tina?
Well, it was really exciting because I'm trying to think, this might be the fourth country that I'd caught up with Tina in. So, and I didn't know she was in the team. So that day was just unreal on so many different levels. And wow, it's so good to watch her off the pitch, but it's lovely to play with her. I was mid-off for her bowling, and she's spinning at the moment. So I was like, come on, surely everyone called you Tina Turner. She's like, no, they haven't. And then she hit she's such a clean striker of the ball, isn't she? It was just brilliant. And the other thing was she did a warm-up for us, and she said, there you go, that's a Germany warm-up. So we've had an international warm-up this morning. And that things like that are just really, really useful, interesting, and I hope everyone else could take something away from that. But Tina, well, because she's a regular guest, Tina's just such a top person. She's great energy. She's just brilliant. I just spend a lot of time with her, and she's invited me to play in Hamburg next year with her, so I'm looking forward to that.
So does she get angry? Because she said on the podcast that she's the angry fast bowler.
Well, she was bowling spin that day, and I'm not sure that if you're spirit of cricketing with the MCC that that's the place for your anger. I'm not
No,
100%
it's not.
sure, but
no, definitely not.
She played with a huge smile on her face that day.
Right. So next number, that's number 1 done.
2.
Number 2. Oh, number 2. Now I don't think you played cricket here, but I saw the piece on Instagram and Facebook about the bears in Transylvania. Did you see any?
No. So I went to Transylvania to catch up with cult cricketer Pavel Florin, who happily styles himself as the worst / slowest fast bowler in the world. And he's great. He does a lot for promoting cricket in Romania and beyond. And his for those who don't know, his style of bowling he calls grenades. So I said, I got to come and see you, especially because you're in Transylvania. So he said, okay, let's just have a drive round. And he wanted to show me this scenic lake. And I said, hey, we could just play here, couldn't we? And at that point, we're sort of sitting down, like getting ready for the match. And he goes, oh, yeah, I often camp around here. I was like, but are there any scary animals? He said, oh, yeah, there's, bears and wolves and all sorts. I was like, you literally camp in this forest and you don't care? And he said, yeah, it's fine. I'm more scared of humans. I said, oh, yeah, that's a fair enough point, I suppose. But yeah, no, there were no bears. I was on bear watch. But also, Pavel said, I said, well, what do you do if you see a bear? I need to be prepared. And Pavel said, well, you don't tackle them. You just make a noise at them. And then he made a kind of growling noise, which I'll spare you from reproducing. But I was quite happy that we were in the company of a bear grappler, if required.
I've heard of electric fences for keeping the cows out, but not bears. Right, next question, next number.
3.
Oh, 3. Well, 3. We can still cover 3, but you mentioned it. But again, you came into contact with a former guest on the podcast because you trained with the national team. I think you trained with more than one national team, but you trained with France and you trained with Poppy McGowan. What was it like training with a national side?
It was brilliant. It was such a great honour to be invited. So during the week, I was out there with Cricket Spain. They'd invited me to score at the T20 qualifier, and many of the crew on our sort of ground team were our Cricket Spain players. So we had our own training first, which was great. And the women are so passionate, and it was great for them to be around this tournament, and because their ranking's not that dissimilar to France. So just to see where the level is and pick up ideas on how they can be more professional. And then we as a group were invited on the, in inverted commas, rest day, optional training day, to come and train with the France team, which was lovely because I'd met them in Jersey, and I'd actually played against Blondine in Sweden, and I played against Liddy in Luxembourg. So it was nice to play in a net with all of them all at once.
And France is an amazing story because they qualified to reach the stage in Spain, having qualified in Jersey, where you were also where you met Tina, I think, in Jersey.
That's where I met Tina, and France topped the group. So and obviously Italy, they came from that group as well and came through to the qualifiers this week, which was I'd not seen Scotland and Netherlands in person before. I was absolutely blown away. They're really impressive.
Yeah, you've got more guests of the podcast playing for Scotland because Sarah and Catherine Bryce have both been on the show before.
Yeah, they both had a great tournament. They're just it's so classy. You just know when they come in to bat, they're going to do brilliant things. And like Catherine's bowling, and Sarah's she did so many stumping. Again, the value of a wicketkeeper. This is what we're saying. A good wicketkeeper can really make a massive, massive difference. So yeah, they're really impressive. And I also spoke to Abtaha Maqsood just at breakfast, and I just wanted to ask her a random question. So I said to her, I have a really random question. She said, okay. I said, when I was in Scotland, I played a computer game, and we were Scotland, and I've literally played cricket as you. I said, have you played as you, the cricket game? And she said, no, I've not, but my friends have. And she said, but I've seen it, and I'm just really impressed at how they've got every little last mannerism down. And, I said, what a world we're living in where you can play even a computer game as a woman these days. That I'm still adjusting to this exciting new world. But I also spoke to Ali Mitchell, whose commentary is used on there, and I was like, have you played that game as yourself? She's like, oh, not as yourself, but played it with hearing yourself. She's like, it's very strange. But again, very cool. So yeah, there's Scotland, and obviously Babette de Leader and Stella Callis and Heather Seegers. There's so many Netherlands brilliant players. So yeah, it was really, really good. And as usual, tournament like that played in a very great spirit, and lots of generosity between all the players of helping each other as well. So yeah, really good. And I have to commend the ICC and Cricket Spain from seeing it from an internal perspective, what goes into organising the tournament, and just the things that crop up along the way and how they get resolved really fast. And yeah, I think they did a really good job. And I just also want to mention tournament director Esther De Lange. I'd seen her in Jersey again there, and she's so good. She's just so calm and sensible and gets everything sorted. So yeah, it was really brilliant.
Well, I'm going to choose the next number for you, which is you were going to say number. Can't read me. I'm writing it. Oh, you were going to say number 5, because number 5, you were scoring at this World Cup qualifying event, and I remember seeing the Instagram, Facebook reel. People must check out your Her World Cricket Tour page.
Okay.
On a Saturday night, rather than out dancing and drinking, you were doing a very important role. You were watching a scoring tutorial. They're the fun nights on a Saturday, aren't they?
Yeah, but you know what? I put that up as if that was something exceptional. I mean, I'm not a real party person anyway, so that's seriously just actually a typical Saturday night for me. But maybe not specifically with the scoring, but maybe just with a good book. So yeah, I was so happy to be invited to score because I put it on my list of things that I wanted to do during the tour. And basically that list is just anything to do with cricket. And I used to score. I was the first team scorer at my club for the men when my brother was playing, when my dad was playing, and absolutely love it. And just, you know, that evocative sound of pulling the tins round and yeah, anyway, and doing all the colours. Love it. And then I hadn't done it for years for various reasons. And then I was invited to be the official tournament scorer. And do you know what? I thought, my goodness, the last time that I did scoring, you didn't get an extra run if you ran on a wide. So I was like, I'd better really, really go into this in depth. But funnily enough, even though everything is super, super esoteric, some of the scenarios cropped up in the actual game and that in some of the matches. And so it was real. I was so glad that I'd done that extra revision on the little crazy, you know what cricket's like, that, oh, it's weird scenarios. I was like, actually follow it through logically, this, that's a dot, or that doesn't count as a ball, or, you know, but I really love scoring, and for me, what is useful is it really concentrates your mind onto the match because my attention span's not brilliant, but it is when it comes to having to be. And had a really great co-scorer in Jerry. He did he's from Ireland, and he did the electronic import. So yeah, we were a good team, and it was really, really fun. And the umpires are brilliant. I learned a lot about umpiring as well. And from their perspective, what's useful for them and, you know, extra additional duties that they have that you're not necessarily aware of. So, yeah, it was really brilliant. Loved it.
I think you're right there because I did quite a bit of scoring. But if you played a lot, you tend to watch the game rather than actually score. So you can get distracted and you think, oh, that was a good shot. Oh, that was off a wide, or that was off a no ball, and you've forgotten that. And yeah, it's very easy to get distracted. You really need to concentrate. But you've got two left now. Two questions left. So you've got number, I don't know what number are we got. Number 4 and number 8. Yeah.
Yep.
So which one?
4.
Yep. Number 4. Oh yes, yeah. Now, this is another one of your reels. What was it like playing night cricket in Austria?
Oh, that was really fun. So I'd gone out with Priya and Hannah from the Austria team, who are just brilliant, brilliant people. And just check out their stories. They're really interesting. I haven't got time right now. But I said, oh, you know, we haven't played. I'm literally just in Austria passing through. Let's play some cricket. So we were in the city centre, and there was a street lamp. So we set up, and we'd just been discussing how to recruit for cricket. And this guy just wanders through, and he said, oh, he had a bottle of Fanta, but I'm not sure he had Fanta in the bottle. He said, oh, his name was Johnny. And Johnny was lovely. And he said, oh, I just want to play cricket. That's cricket, right? I've never played cricket. Can I have a hit? So I said, absolutely. And we showed him how to stand and hit the ball. He's like, oh, this is so much fun. And thank you so much. You've made my dreams come true. I'm thinking on a Monday night in Austria. And so he wandered off, and we were just laughing. I said, hey, maybe this could be an actual way to recruit for cricket, because when I was in Croatia, they said in the early days, 20 odd years ago, this was more just for playing. Because they were playing on sort of concretey football, gravelly football pitches. They had a tepic, I think is how you pronounce it, a carpet essentially, and it was a red one. And they rolled it up. This is Fedran and his friend who set up the cricket there. And they just rolled this carpet up, drove it round Zagreb in the back of a car, and then they would pick a spot and go and like unroll the carpet out and start to play. But it was such a curiosity. I think they picked up a few players because they would always have a huge spectatorship, because what is this random thing? And I've heard in Namibia they have a van and they just drive around the country and just set up quick cricket in villages, and they recruit a lot of people that way. I think, it's always interesting to see something like cricket in a non-cricket country, because it always draws the curiosity of people, specifically in Vienna on a Monday night, as it happened.
Yeah, and obviously when you go out on a night in Vienna, you take your bat and ball with you, don't you? It's just second nature, really.
Well, you know that I don't really go out much, so that I'm more always prepared for a cricket opportunity than a night out, I think.
Well, the last number is number 8. We're going to have to put this into 2 parts. Yeah. So this is the last part of part 1 of my podcast with Jenny Thompson. And I want you to tell me about the captain of the Papua New Guinea team. She had a very good story.
Yes, Kaya. Well, her mum, first of all, was Papua New Guinea's first wicketkeeper in their first match ever, their first recorded match. And I went to the village, Hanuabada, in Papua New Guinea, which supplies the vast majority of the men's and women's international cricket teams, and also a few Olympic weightlifters, which is very curious, and I love that story. So the reason why they're so good at cricket is they just play street cricket all day long from dawn to dusk. And I managed to be invited to get to the village. I was invited in, and it was so wonderful. I just had such a great time with everyone. So I met Kaya's mum, Bonnie, and she's so placid, lovely, chilled. And then I asked her about her cricket, and she said, "Oh, it was so exciting. We thrashed Japan 3-1 in that first series. Sorry, 3-0. And she just got very, very animated. And then she said, "Oh, but now I have to look after Kaya's children when Kaya goes on tour. So I'm a lot more mellow." And then Kaya herself, yes, is the captain now of PNG, and she's one of 7 mothers in the team, which I think is very, very inspirational. And I asked the team how they manage that with their international duties, and they're all professionals. They all train 5 days a week, and they said literally everybody in the family helps out. So you can have 20 people living in a house, and the women's wages from cricket go to the whole family. So while they're relatively well paid in Papua New Guinea, they're still providing for 20 people. So even then the money doesn't quite stretch. So Kaya got to play at Fairbreak, and her performance fee there enabled her to buy a house in the village outright, which she's called Fairbreak, and I got to see the house. It's very, very cool. But this is in no way to underestimate how hard it is to be, I think a woman in Papua New Guinea, but a cricketer, because regardless of the fact that you're an international athlete, you're still culturally expected as a woman to look after the whole family, make all the food before you go to your daily training, go to training, come back, do all the laundry, the dishes, with no electronic convenience. That's all by hand. Then make all the food and look after all the children, it's just non-stop. It's absolutely exhausting. I said, how do you do it? And they said, well, sometimes we just can't. We just stop and people have to help us. So, you know, it's quite a hard life. But I actually might have Kaya coming to stay with me this summer. For she's looking at playing at a club in Adelaide. So she might be coming to stay with me. So that could be fun. We'll just have to see on that one. But yeah, it's very, very, very interesting. And the women of PNG and many, many other countries and club teams and all sorts just are so inspirational. I'm just meeting so many inspirational women and men doing lots of great work in volunteer spaces. So, you know, I'm constantly inspired by everything that I'm seeing around the world.
Well, thanks for sharing that. That's a good part, or a good point to end part one of our podcast with Jenny Thompson. Provisionally, we were going to only have one part, but has so many amazing stories there, Jenny. Thanks for joining me on part one.
Thanks for having me, Stephen.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.